Morning.
Guys, how's it going, Kier? Hey, Yuri.
Thanks. I'm fine. I believe Nathan joined as well.
Hello, gentlemen. Good to see you all. Just running through the PRs. So I guess I think it's Ifus on the rerun parameter that no one's managed to get through yet, but is on my list. I think I'll make that my PR to definitely get through today.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Do you have something specific to talk about today, Nathan? I know you were checking on the meeting status.
I have a couple questions that they haven't resolved yet.
Okay.
The first one is, I don't know if Zach will join or no.
I think Zach's on
I was
PC
trying.
right now.
Okay, so this is why he's not answering me.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else can follow up. I was looking into CM Ansible scripts in order to figure out how to deploy Tautology itself and was playing with Tautology role, and finally I've got some results deploying it to the OpenSUSE, but there is some chain is missing. The final step, I believe, the workers are not configured with it, and there is a comment that it's not yet included in the role, in any role. And Nathan was saying that you guys were discussing this sometimes ago in a meeting, in previous meetings when I was absent, and Zach was providing some script in ePod but it's gone already because the link is outdated.
Greg, do you remember how Zach was showing us that the bash script that he uses to deploy Twothology workers?
I remember that we discussed that. I don't remember. Yuri might. I think it's just sitting on the Twothology server machine in the lab somewhere.
Well,
Unfortunately.
I went back into my browser history, and I found the exact. It was in Red Hat's paste bin, which has an expiry of 1 week, and so it had already been expired and deleted, so I couldn't retrieve it. And I was hoping to provide it to Kier, who is trying to automate the deployment of Twothology.
Yeah. Can you just shoot me an email and I'll try and figure out who to ask about that?
Will do.
Because yeah, there's a few people who should have access to whatever it is, but I don't think they're online right now. And I'm gonna have to work through a list. But I mean, in general, that's yeah. But like, I mean, that's just gonna be a convenience thing. The Twothology workers are just sort of, processes that run in a loop on grab work and grab jobs. So if you're getting to
Right, but
hooray.
the Twothology worker has specific parameters with which channel it should be looking at. Like,
Yeah.
for example, for downstream SUSE Twothology, the way it's deploying right now, it's using the Twothology OpenStack tool that is deploying it via shell script, everything, and it's deploying on Ubuntu, which has pretty different set of packages that recent Linux has. Like, it doesn't use systemd, and it doesn't use, it's just using some custom init systemv config, which is managing everything, every service. But the Twothology role is using systemd and setting up different users for different services. Like Paddles has own user, Twothology has own user, and Twothology Worker has own user.
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with that yet, but yeah, just shoot me an email and I'll try and track down who has it.
I think Tamil was working lately on Ceph Ansible. I don't know the detail though.
This is I think the Ceph CM Ansible thing that we use for lab deployments, not deploying Ceph proper.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So in other news, go ahead, Gear.
And another thing is that I was trying to run unit tests for Twothology on OpenSUSE and macOS, and it was failing for me. And I still do not know why it's failing. Just I had a quick conversation with Zach before I went for long vacation, but I tried everything that he was recommended, and it still was not working for me. So probably next step is probably the reason is that I was trying to run them not on super clean environment. Probably just I have to try several bare-bone images, like
Kier,
yeah.
can you post a URL or somehow specify which tests these are? I'm just so we have it in the minutes. What kind of integration tests for Twothology we're looking at?
I'm looking at Talks Pi 27.
Oh, so you mean the unit tests?
Yeah, but they're actually not unit tests because they're trying to run some functional tests and require some, I don't know
So I'll
which.
call them tox tests.
Yeah, tags.
527. Okay, and they require some kind of environment,
I don't know.
which you don't know how to set up.
Yeah, probably they, but from last conversation, Zach was saying that they shouldn't be using any environment, any specific environment. But I was trying to run it and still have no results.
But let's I've run these before, and I had to deploy because just full disclosure, right? We're running this in OpenSUSE, right? And the only way I could get them to run was to in an Ubuntu 14.04 Docker container. They would not run in OpenSUSE for me. That was quite some time ago. If you're interested,
I don't know about Ubuntu, but I'm sure for that the way that we are deploying the downstream version to Ubuntu, we use Ubuntu server, but we do not run any unit tests on it.
did you try running the tox py27 tests in an Ubuntu environment?
I actually wasn't, because anyway, no. Okay, so I haven't tried. So that what I am saying, that Zach was noticed that it should be working for macOS 10 as well. And I was running it in macOS 10.
Yes. Oh, you tried Mac OS 10. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Zach is developing on macOS, and
Right.
he was saying that it was working for him, for sure. So yeah, I tried both OpenSUSE and macOS 10. So the next step probably to try Ubuntu, but anyway, the desired way, because Python should be cross-platform, should be run, the tox test should be run on any environment, on any operating system.
Well, we have, that's something that we could work on to get it fixed, right? But
yeah. I haven't created any bug in the tracker yet, so just needed to spend some time for investigation.
these are the same tests that run in every PR. You know, whenever a PR gets pushed, then Jenkins automatically runs them. So they do run.
Yeah, but they do run, but on which machines they do run? This is the question. And another thing that guys were saying that it's not always passing. And even when I was submitting some PR, it was failing first time, and the second time it passed. I don't know, so they have usually not expected results, not always passed, not because of the the patch itself.
Is that all you had then, Kier? I do have
Yeah.
one item to discuss.
Okay.
Getting back to adding some OpenSUSE coverage to upstream. There are several things that have to happen, obviously, before OpenSUSE could be a fully supported distro. But we have to I'm thinking we have to start somewhere and move incrementally, and the lowest of the low-hanging fruits seem to me to be to get an OpenSUSE image. What is it called? FOG, fog is what's used to
Yeah.
reimage the bare metal servers, and then an OVH image. So I was wondering, should I open a ticket, a tracker ticket for David Galloway? Whom should I ping to get that fog image created?
I think
OVH.
Ticket and David would be the best way. David like works on tickets religiously, and I will mention to him as well. But what I do in that case, you just like ticket plus talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll definitely be able to help with that. Keep in mind, I mean, part of the deal with there was like maintenance help with it too. So not just like adding a new thing to the people to the constrained people we already have. So you'll probably need to like he'll probably be able to guide you, but you guys will need to like get in and figure out how to build images, or at least tell him how to get a working, like a script execute to get a working one or something.
Yeah. Well, the thing here is that we have working OVH images. We have a script for updating them, for creating them. Yeah, and so for OVH, and we use them with Toothology. So the image that's created, is SSHable as user Ubuntu, right? So hopefully those images will just work, right?
Okay. Cool.
But for fog, I have no idea what would be needed. So I'll talk with David about that.
Awesome. Yeah.
So the final goal, Nathan, is what? That we use OpenSUSE as supported distro?
Well,
right, that's the long-term goal, right?
Yeah.
Once we have the capability to trigger a test with OpenSUSE, so if I type in the YAML OS type OpenSUSE OS version 15.0, that I actually get machines, right? That's the first milestone. Then once I have that, then I can push all of the scripting that we use for testing deep sea deployments. I can push that upstream and demonstrate that it actually works in the upstream environment on OpenSUSE. And then, and I'm planning to work very incrementally, and not create any huge waves. I don't want to, start by, breaking Toothology or something like that. I want to get the code upstream and then demonstrate how it works, and then gradually add, for example, add a deep sea suite to Toothology, which tests deep sea and deployments, and then as we make progress on, haven't we been talking about, because right now we're deploying Ceph manually via the Ceph task, right? But we would like to have some kind of plug-in architecture so that we could use different ways of deploying Ceph in the suites, not just the Ceph task.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm going with that.
I haven't done any real work yet, but that is my new project. Is to, I mean, Ansible specifically, but as part of that, sort of defining or at least defining an interface between the rest of the Toothology and QA suites and the things that do step installation and cluster setup.
I'm very keen to work with you on that and position DeepSea to take advantage of that as well.
Is any of the DeepSea stuff, it's all on your GitHub, right? Or is that not public right now?
No, the GitHub is public. It's public. I can show you the code that I'm using. it's basically a bash script that deploys. It takes various options and it
Sorry,
introspects.
I mean the Teuthology or like the Teuthology QA suite pieces to use it, not DeepC itself.
No, I meant well, there are several pieces, right? There's the Teuthology YAML for the tests themselves. These are just deployment tests that use DeepC to deploy Ceph, right? And then they check that the resulting cluster is sane and working. So the tests go from the very simplest thing that just creates a cluster with OSDs and mons and a manager and checks that it's in health okay, and that's the end of the test, all the way to more complicated things like NFS Ganesha, iSCSI Gateway, and OpenAttic, and each test after deploying the cluster does some validation, to make, to assert that the resulting cluster is somehow sane or functional. That's as far as I've gotten, but I'm very keen, like I said, to have, if we enable Ceph Ansible for the QA suites, and there's some kind of an architecture for that, then I would like to plug in DeepC as well.
Yeah, no, that's definitely my goal, because I think we're going to need, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but I think we're going to need Kubernetes to live inside of there as well eventually,
right.
or at least containerized Ceph. So I don't want to go through the whole thing every time. So yeah. I'll let you know once I have anything useful. I think the first couple of days are just going to be like, there are some Ansible tests already, like, and the Red Hat QE has a public RH branch in Teuthology that does that. Although I haven't looked through it yet.
Well, there's the Ceph Ansible suite, right? Ceph Ansible has a suite.
Yeah, the Ceph Ansible suite is incredibly limited. That barely does more than turn it on. So there's a whole bunch of missing APIs there.
Greg, let me talk about Ceph Ansible, what currently we have in upstream and what we have in Red Hat branch. The upstream one actually is a full-fledged Ceph Ansible test suite, because Ceph Ansible actually plays around with variables. So adding new test is basically just adding a YAML fragment with various variables to the Ceph Ansible. The biggest piece that is missing in upstream is it cannot work with thrash code, because we haven't fixed it in upstream, but we have fixed it in downstream. Maybe in next couple of weeks we'll just give the patch to upstream so that Ceph Ansible can be used full-fledged with all the tests we are doing in upstream. And the other big piece why we cannot utilize Ceph Ansible in upstream is we actually end up overloading the roles. So one node can take on 4 or 5 monitors. Because of the inherent restrictions in Ceph Ansible, we cannot do that in with Ceph Ansible. So you have.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. That's going to be a disaster.
Yeah. So we cannot do that.
Okay.
We can do. So we did it in downstream, but we at a very high cost. The high cost is with limited number of nodes, we can just run 1 or 2 tests parallelly, because you need 8 or 10 nodes to do the same amount of testing what we can do in 3-node testing. So those are the pieces, and it's a trade-off. So one has to decide what we want, and if limited coverage can do it, that's fine.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's sort of my new project, is looking at what we have and trying to get it in the upstream in a way that works all the way. That's right. That's going to be exciting with the Ansible install limitations, though. Anyway.
Yeah, that got me thinking. I don't know how we would do 5 mons on a single node in DeepC either. It's kind of a fun task.
And I mean, I'm not. Well, yeah, and more than that, like, wait, maybe you don't want to enable that because you really don't want users doing that, but you need your little devel switch or whatever.
Well, we have a it's called dev-env environment variable that disables validation. So normally DeepC will, if you specify mons and OSDs, or or a very small cluster under 4 nodes, DeepC will say, no, I'm not going to deploy that. But there's a way to get around that. But yeah, I'm also very interested in the things that you're dealing with for Ceph Ansible. I'm also dealing with in parallel.
Yeah.
And collaborating on that upstream.
Absolutely. I'll reach out to you if I come up with anything really interesting, or otherwise I'll have updates in these meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan,
sounds good. Mm-hmm.
Nathan, just a curious question. So the DeepC is specifically tied to OpenSUSE, or it works on Debian or CentOS? How is it?
Excellent question, Vasu. Excellent question. There's no obviously, well, not obviously. I mean, DeepC is an upstream project, and then we also have downstream releases of it that we ship to users, customers. But the upstream, already some work has quite a lot of work has gone into enabling CentOS, Ubuntu. I don't know the status of it, and that's part of the reason why I'm keen to to push all of this testing code that I've got. I'm keen to push it upstream so that we can, it'll make it so much easier to run the tests on CentOS, Ubuntu, right? Since all of our downstream testing infrastructure is geared towards the SLES. So even getting OpenSUSE coverage in the downstream infrastructure, is an uphill battle, and then adding CentOS and Ubuntu to that is just not. We don't have the manpower to maintain CentOS, Ubuntu images.
No, I totally understand your concern. So I'm in the same boat as well. So yeah, thanks.
Right. So I'm gonna, if you guys all agree, and I'd like to, I'll open a PR and ask you for review, but it's going to be kind of a code dump PR. You'll see.
No problem. Thanks.
Yeah.
We look forward to definitely getting OpenSUSE in the lab, so that'll be good. I think we've covered all the topics.
I just wanted to mention, of course, the Ceph task deployment method also works on OpenSUSE.
Yeah. Oh, I did have one thing. So you guys are still on your forked version from a while ago, right? So just be aware that I think some of the image requirements have changed a little bit since then. I could be wrong, but I think there are a few new packages you may need.
Well, David should know, right? And we can
I'll find out anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll provide an image, and if it doesn't work, I'll provide a different one. And the script that I use to create the images, I can add different image types or targets, and define special sets of packages, for example, or remove packages. It's not a big deal.
Okay. I think that's all the topics I had for this week. Do we have anything else in the group?
Just one request, Greg. I mean, I have multiple clashes at this time. Is it okay? Same time, Thursday, is it okay for everyone? Even if I want to attend like once in 2 weeks, or is it difficult for others?
We've got other Ceph community calls that clash with this time slot most days of the week.
I see. So, but is there a meeting minutes?
Since it works with Europe and the US.
Yeah. So are we planning to send out meeting minutes maybe for offline review or something?
We haven't been real reliable about it since there haven't been a lot of people in a lot of the meetings, but they do get published to the Ceph channel. And there's the Etherpad, which I think this is Nathan, who's been keeping much better notes than I usually do.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I can always sync up with Nathan on IRC. So so much faster. Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Oh, and next week there's I guess some people in Red Hat have been running around and using Flake and AI analysis on CI and testing stuff. They want to come and talk to us about some things they've learned when they ran Flake and their, processing against the Toothology code base. So hopefully that'll be interesting. Well, it'll certainly be interesting. Hopefully it's useful. But we'll definitely be here next week. So
Flake, is that something different than Flake 8, the kind of the linter?
yeah, it's a linter thing. I think
Yeah,
there
so
are 17 different variations of it, but I could be wrong.
But Toothology doesn't pass Flake 8 by any stretch of the imagination, does it?
Well, I'm sure that'll be one of the things they want to sell us.
Okay.
But I think they had some way of like categorizing things as by how much you're likely to care or something. I don't know. Anyway, have a good rest of your week, all. I'll see you.
And Greg, that Flake thing is next week then?
Yeah, that'll be in the meeting next week.
Okay. All right. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Wow.
Bye, folks.